Good to have you back at the desk. I know the calendar is starting to feel heavy. The prelims is behind us. The mains is climbing closer. And there is a quiet pressure inside every aspirant who knows this examination can rewrite the course of a life. So let us not waste a minute. This is the Sociology Desk, issue 033. Today we cover 3 events that the examiner is actively watching. We have a labor market report from Azim Premji University, the New World Inequality Report, and India's fertility rate slipping to 1.9. By the end of this video, you will know which thinker to anchor each answer on, where to place the current event as evidence, and how to push your score from a 14 on 20 into the 18 to 19 band. That gap between the candidate who can sync current affairs with the right concept and the one who cannot is the gap between a top rank and a near miss. Event 1. The State of Working India 2026 report by Azim Premji University. This sits inside Paper 2, Section C, under Industrialization and Urbanization, subunit on the working class, its structure, growth, and mobilization. Why does this report matter for you? Because it is the cleanest empirical anchor available right now to talk about how the Indian working class is being recomposed in the post-pandemic decade. Let me give you the 4 numbers you must carry into the hall. About 67% of unemployed youth aged 20 to 29 are now graduates. Of the 83 million additional jobs created between 2021 to 22 and 2023 to 24, 40 million went into agriculture. Almost all of those agricultural jobs were absorbed by women workers. And of the young men who do graduate, only about 7% secure a permanent salaried position within a year. Notice the pattern. Educated young people are not getting absorbed into modern industry. They are falling back. That is the structural story. You are not narrating a jobs crisis. You are narrating a recomposition of the working class. Anchor your answer on Karl Marx, specifically on the Reserve Army of Labor from Capital Volume 1. Marx argued that capitalist accumulation continually produces a relative surplus population whose function is to regulate the labor market, not to be absorbed by it. Now look at India. The Reserve Army was once the rural unlettered worker. Today, it is the urban graduate who falls back into agriculture and self-employment. The Reserve Army has been credentialed. That single sentence written cleanly signals to the examiner that you are not describing a survey. You are reading it through a Marxian lens. Bring in Robert K. Merton next, because the examiner loves the Durkheim-Merton distinction on anomy. Merton, in social theory and social structure, locates anomy not in rapid social change, which is Durkheim's account, but in a structural disjunction between culturally approved goals, here the graduate salaried job, and the institutional means a society makes available to reach them. Indian society has scaled the goal of credentialed employment without scaling the means. That gap is the Mertonian strain. Make sure you spell out this distinction. It is one of the most reliable 10 markers in this paper. Now I want you to sit in the examiner's chair for 30 seconds. An average answer here will simply recite the report. It will say there is graduate unemployment, that women have moved into agriculture, that this is a problem. That answer scores around 14 on 20. It is a policy summary, not a sociology answer. The 18 or 19 on 20 answer does 4 things differently. 1. It opens with a structural claim, not a definition. 2. It names the Reserve Army of Labor and attributes it to Capital Volume 1. 3. It deploys the report in only 1 or 2 sentences as evidence, not narration. 4. It brings in Andre Bataille's disharmonic systems as the counter-framing, then closes with a forward-looking line on demographic dividend versus demographic liability. The current event is your evidence. The theory is your destination. That is the refrain. Here is the probable question you should rehearse. Critically examine the proposition that the contemporary working class in India is being recomposed by the absence of absorptive employment rather than by industrial expansion. 250 words. Use the report, but anchor on Marx and Merton. Event 2. The World Inequality Report 2026 Edited by Chancel, Gomez Carrera, Moshrif, and Thomas Piketty. This is Paper 1, Unit 5, Stratification and Mobility, the very first sub-unit on concepts of equality, inequality, hierarchy, exclusion, poverty, and deprivation. It is one of the most reliable 20 markers in the paper, and the new report gives you the empirics to anchor it on. 4 numbers. The top 10% of earners now capture over 53% of global income. The bottom 50% holds only 2% of global wealth. The top 10% are responsible for 77% of carbon emissions linked to private capital ownership. And here is the gender finding that does the work. When you exclude unpaid care and domestic labor, women earn about 61% of what men earn per hour. When you include unpaid labor, that drops to 32%. The wage gap doubles the moment you count unpaid work. That is the sentence that will earn you a mark on its own. Anchor the western half of your answer on Wilfredo Pareto. From his Manual of Political Economy, Pareto showed that the distribution of income follows a regularity in which the upper tail captures a share far in excess of its numerical weight, and that history records the circulation of elites, not their abolition. The WAR 2026 finding that tax progressivity collapses for centimillionaires and billionaires is a contemporary restatement of Pareto. Why this matters for you? Pareto is now formally inside the canon that the examiner is testing. Use him with confidence. For the Indian anchor, bring in Leela Dubey from Women and Kinship. Dubey argued that the sexual division of labor is not a residue of culture, but a productive arrangement that distributes work, entitlement, and recognition along lines that economic accounting habitually renders invisible. Once you have said that sentence, the 32% versus 61% gender wage gap stops being a statistic and becomes a structural finding. India's stagnant female labor force participation at around 15.7% is not the absence of patriarchy. It is the form patriarchy takes. Back in the examiner's chair, the 14 on 20 answer here recites R numbers and adds a one-line definition of equality. It looks impressive on the page, but it is empty sociologically. The 18 on 20 answer opens with one sentence. Inequality is a political settlement, not a residual of growth. Then it names Pareto. Then Karl Marx on international transfer of 1% of global GDP from poorer to richer economies. Then Leela Dubey on unpaid labor, and uses Andre Bettel's distinction between equality of opportunity, condition, and result to frame the policy paragraph. The numbers sit inside the argument, never outside it. Close on the line that inequality persists because it is policy, not destiny. That is your 18. Probable question to rehearse. Inequality is not inevitable, but a product of policy and power. Critically examine this proposition in the light of recent global findings on income and wealth concentration. Quote-based, 20 marks. Pareto plus Marx plus Dubey plus Bettel is the four-thinker scaffold. Event 3. India's total fertility rate has fallen to 1.9. This sits inside Paper 2, Section C, Population Dynamics, subunit on population size, growth, composition, and distribution. We are taking this as a 10-mark short note. The reason is that the structural argument here is sharp, and you must learn to deliver a tight 150-word answer with the same discipline as a long one. The numbers. National TFR at 1.9, Delhi at 1.2, Tamil Nadu and West Bengal at 1.3 each, Bihar still at 2.9, Uttar Pradesh at 2.6. Kerala dropped below replacement back in 1988 when the national TFR was still above 4. So this is not one transition. It is a southern transition that completed 2 to 3 decades before the Hindi heartland. The political consequences, the looming delimitation exercise after 2026, which could transfer parliamentary seats from low fertility south to high fertility north. The states that delivered family planning earliest stand to lose political weight. Anchor on two thinkers. Yogendra Singh, from Modernization of Indian Tradition, argued that structural change in India proceeds at different speeds across regions. Differential modernization is the precise concept. It explains why the South completed transition before the North, then bring in Merton's distinction between manifest and latent functions. The manifest function of state-led family planning was population stabilization. The latent, unintended function is now political. Family planning success has produced a representational cost. That single Mertonian move turns a demography note into a sociology answer. Examiner's chair. Last time. A short note here is brutal. 150 words, no room to wander. The 7 on 10 answer simply states that TFR has fallen and lists state figures. The 9 on 10 answer opens with one sentence. Fertility transition is structural and uneven across a federal polity with political consequences. It cites Kerala in 1988 and Bihar at 2.9 as evidence within 30 words. It names Yogendra Singh on differential modernization and Merton's latent function in one sentence each, and it closes by naming the delimitation question explicitly. 3 structural moves in 150 words. That is the discipline. Probable question to rehearse. Examine the sociological significance of regional divergence in India's fertility transition. 10 marks, 150 words. Singh and Merton are your scaffold. To recap. Event 1, The State of Working India, 2026. Anchor on Marx's Reserve Army of Labour and Merton's Strain Theory of Anomie. The Reserve Army is now credentialed. Event 2, The World Inequality Report 2026. Anchor on Pareto's distribution and Leela Dubey on unpaid labour. The gender wage gap doubles the moment unpaid work is counted. Event 3, India's TFR at 1.9. Anchor on Yogendra Singh on differential modernization and Merton on latent functions. The Southern fertility transition has produced a political consequence at delimitation. Across all 3 events, the refrain is the same. The event is your evidence. The theory is your destination. If today's brief was useful, do this. The full answer block for every event, the model answer, the answer skeleton, the quotation arsenal, the concept flashcards, and the examiner notes are prepared daily and go only to subscribers of the Sociology Desk. If you want access, leave your email in the comments or write to team@upscdesk.com. To be honest with you, it is a paid subscription. The reason it is paid is that the quality, the editorial discipline, and the syncing of current affairs with the right thinker every single day is the competitive edge it gives you over a candidate who is still reading newspapers and praying. That edge is worth the cost. Until tomorrow, stay with this preparation. UPSC is long, it is draining, and most days the temptation is to coast. The aspirants who clear are not the ones with the most talent. They are the ones who showed up on a day they did not feel like showing up. That more than any concept is the real secret.